We said we had to do something to make this seem very unattractive to a young audience.
Public Enemy's In Your Face track, Night of the Living Bassheads, becomes an anti-crack epic.
Like comatose walking around, please don't confuse this with the sound. I'm talking about bass.
You see everybody out all night looking for this little $10 substance to keep their zombie life going.
Nothing can save you. Bass.
And it's like Night of the Living Dead.
Team on the brother when they dealing. The same block where my 98 be wheeling. And everybody know another kilo. From a corner from my brother, keep another below. And stop killing and killing, stop grilling. Yo, black, yo.
We have the audacity to try to tell people that crack is whack. It just didn't come from us. KRS-One, Kool Moe Deep, Ice-T. It was a consensus. Crack is terrible, you know, and we all gonna go after it like that's the enemy.
In New York, a group of concerned residents takes to the streets, armed with cans of paint. The target, suspected crack houses.
Because we're going to tell everybody where they see the red on the doorpost that they're selling murder to our babies inside.
There's no doubt that Black America is suffering from crack and crying out for help.
We've got to wage an all-out aggressive war against narcotics. There's no question about that.
During the presidential campaign in 1988, the media coverage of the rising violence of the crack trade is heating up again. George Bush assumes office with what he sees as a clear mandate for a new national crackdown.
This is the first time since taking the oath of office that I felt an issue was so important, so threatening, that it warranted talking directly with you, the American people. Our most serious problem today is cocaine, and in particular, crack. This is crack cocaine, seized a few days ago by drug enforcement agents in a park just across the street from the White House.
I listened to that, and it sounded suspicious to me. This doesn't sound right.
In a park just across the street from the White House.
Crack isn't being sold across the street from the White House in Lafayette Park. And I followed up. I pressed, and I had some people in the DEA, and eventually I hit gold. They told me the whole thing was a setup. I eventually wrote the story, and it caused a huge fuss.
The White House acknowledged today that a dramatic moment in President Bush's speech declaring war on drugs resulted from a setup.
President Bush's speechwriters came up with the idea of using a prop. So they just write that into the speech. They had one problem. They had to find a bag of crack.
As the Washington Post reported today, to make the buy in Lafayette Park, drug agents had to lure the seller there.
The kid set up by the DEA to provide Bush's bag of crack is an 18-year-old high school student from across town named Keith Jackson.
They say, can you meet us in Lafayette Park? And Keith Jackson goes, where's Lafayette Park? And the DEA tells him, well, it's across the street from the White House. And Keith Jackson replies, where the is the White House? It came to symbolize how the threat of drugs in general and crack in particular was being portrayed in almost a near hysterical fashion. Oh my God, it's all around us, it's everywhere. It was clearly something that the country was concerned about, but it was being inflated for political purposes.
The president calls for a massive increase in prison space and law enforcement.
This way.
In 17 cities across the country, police are declaring war on crack.
It's called Operation Crackdown. 200 police officers spreading out all over Broward County, confiscating as much crack as they can find.
TV crews first start going on crack raids in the summer of 1986, but now it's a nightly occurrence. The war on crack is so dramatic that Fox turns it into a primetime hit when it puts Cops on the air in 1989.
Police! Get out!
Crack. We find a bottle of cocaine base rocks, and you gonna tell me you don't know nothing about this.
The crack raids in this pilot episode form the template that makes Cops the first successful reality TV show in the history of commercial television. In this atmosphere, the crack kingpins are being taken down. And one of the first to fall is Freeway Rick, targeted by the Special Freeway Ricky Ross Task Force in the LA County Sheriff's Department.
Me and two of my guys come from playing basketball. We saw these cars pull up behind us with no lights on. So the first thing my guy did was grab his pistol, and he's ready to start shooting at them because they thought it was somebody trying to jack us. When we found it was the cops, I took off, ran, got away, but they planted drugs in the car and said that I dropped the drugs. Because, you know, if a cop goes to court and said that he pulled you over and you had dope in your pocket, then you're in trouble. It's going to be hard to beat that case.
Freeway arrives at the LA County Jail and finds out he's not alone.
Quite a few of the guys from the street was there, and they started telling me that they were looking at life sentences and stuff. I mean, I was scared.
But the real war would be conducted against those low-level drug dealers slinging crack on the streets. And these kids are getting sentenced at a rate that's 100 times higher than those sentenced for cocaine powder.
Let's build the prisons. This is where these people belong when they violate the law. These guys deserve nothing less than do it hard, long time.
Step back from the wall, one step. Do it now.
The president wanted to crack down, so they cracked down on everybody. 5 years for you right off the bat. A lot of my friends went that way.
From this moment on, there would be more people questioning the effectiveness of the war on drugs.
There's one cop said to me, look, the minute the drugs are on the street, the war's over. You know, there is no war on drugs. It's like sweeping leaves on a windy day.
One of those caught up in the web is Snoop Dogg when he's busted by an undercover cop for dealing rocks at his usual spot on 61st Street in Long Beach.
I didn't feel like I was doing nothing wrong. I wasn't shooting nobody. I wasn't raping nobody. I wasn't, you know, robbing nobody. I was giving somebody, you know, a service for what they were paying me for.
Snoop is now part of a national trend of mass incarceration that'll see 1 in 3 young black males in America caught up in the criminal justice system.
Wu-Tang was actually the product of that culture. Unfortunately, I hate to say that, but it's true because you read the track record, you see 7 out of 9 are felons. And it's from drugs or guns.
The young black men who are the primary creators of hip-hop are the most incarcerated group in the history of the world.
As they turn to hip-hop, the hustlers of the crack generation will document all of these experiences in rhyme, and in doing so, change the course of popular music and culture. By 1990, with violence and stiff prison sentences taking hold, the drug game starts to seem like a very tough way to make $1.
Young kids grow up and that's all they know. Didn't teach him in school, now he's slanging dope. Only thing he knows is how to survive, but will he kill another brother before he dies in the ghetto?
It was looking bad. People started getting a lot of time in jail for drug involvement, a lot of funerals. A lot of friends turned enemies, and just one crack house would be so valuable. A war would start over that one spot, you know?
Crack had no rules, no regulations, and it was every man for himself. And whoever had the most built the strongest team, and he brought his homies in, and they clicked up, and that's what it was.
With money, drama gonna come. So you got the stick-up guys, you got the crooks, thieves, you know, crooked cops. It becomes scary. You start seeing the dollar sign in people's eyes.
New York kingpin AZ Faison falls to the coldest blow. I always say, the day your brother wakes up and plans to do you dirty, there's no defense against that. For AZ, it means getting robbed at gunpoint by a dude from his own crew.
I just watched him walk up to me and put the steel on my forehead, and I watched him pull the trigger. I didn't feel it, I just heard the gunshot, and it seemed like my spirit left the body. And I went into this bright light. Basically, I shot like 9 times that day. Next thing you know, I woke up in the hospital.
AZ begins a recovery that's nothing short of a miracle.
Bloodbath in the Bronx, they call it.
At some point, every street hustler must elevate his game to something legit. If not, prisoner death is guaranteed.
In the streets, the game is so crazy that you get shot. Oh, you the man. That's their state of mind. But hip-hop had a voice. I said, you know what? I want to start rapping. And that's when I created the group Mob Style.
I got something to say to the homeboys from around the way.
Our style of rap was talking about our style of living. I'm telling you, give it up, it ain't no use.
Bloodbath in 87, I knew I was dead. I felt myself going to heaven, but I learned from my mistakes. Next time I die, God opened up the gates.
Mob Style never breaks out of the underground. But AZ is not the only gangster to see hip-hop as a legit hustle. Be Real also has hopes of getting into the rap game with his homeboys Sin Dog and DJ Muggs.
We all hung out together and went through our life experiences together. When I went and got involved with the gangs and selling drugs, you know, the other guys were constantly trying to, you know, pull me back in to do music and do something positive.
For Be Real, what starts out as just another night slinging crack turns into a defining moment in his life.
One night, one of my friend's mothers came and bought a piece, and we had the grass high up where we were serving out of, because if any cops came, we would just throw the crack in the grass and it would take forever for them to find it. And this one lady came, bought her crack, and she dropped her crack in the grass, and we could hear her outside of our window crying the whole night. And I'm like, what are you doing? I dropped my crack in the grass. She didn't want to leave. I ain't going nowhere. My OG homie that was in control of the spot, he came out with a shotgun. Was like, you better get your ass out of here right now, or I'll blast you. And she looked up dead in his eye with that barrel pointed right in her face. I'll die for my crack right now, so if you're gonna shoot me, but I'm gonna stay here looking for it till I find it. Right then and there, that changed my whole perspective on it, you know. I said, okay, I'm gonna stop serving the crack. I didn't have the heart for it, because I thought, what if that was my mom?
By 1991, Be Real's crew Cypress Hill has enough traction in the music business that he can leave the drug game behind for good.
With my magnum, taking us a acting kind of local. Just another local kid from the street getting paid for my vocal.
Everything that we were going through previously to making music had a big effect on us. It was always like trying to create awareness. This is the life that we were fortunate enough to get out of.
Give it something you can't understand. Who could just kill a man? Give it something you can't understand. Who could just kill a man?
Crack stayed big for as long as it had to. You know what I'm saying? If it wasn't for the rap game, I truly believe that crack would still be the dominant right now.
For Snoop, serving time in jail for crack is his turning point.
Being incarcerated, I really got to focus on where I wanted to take my rapping to. I was just able to get off in the jailhouse because there was so many homies in there rapping, and there was so much competition, and to be able to rise in a situation where it's all wolves and gorillas, you know what I'm saying? And then the wolves and the gorillas bow down and tell you, man, you the one. You need to get out and get a deal. That gives you a real sense of, I need to do this.
When Snoop is released from county jail, he hooks up with Dr. Dre, now CEO of a new label, Death Row. When he gets a chance to cut his first song for the soundtrack of the 1992 movie Deep Cover, Snoop turns to his own crack bust for inspiration.
6:45 was the time on the clock when me and my homie bailed in the parking lot. The scene looked strange and it felt like a setup.
Better not be, cause if it is, they get lit up.
I made it about me getting caught selling drugs to an undercover officer. That's how I caught my dope case, but I put a little fiction on it. And I put it together with me and Dre as some drug dealers that ended up getting set up.
Guess what they told me? We give you 20 G's if you snitch on your homie.
They wanted me